Imagine a poison. It doesn't strike all at once. No, it just drips, slowly, right into your bloodstream, day after day, year after year. It quietly breaks down your immune system. It literally shrinks your brain. It rolls out the red carpet for major depressive disorder. We call it chronic stress. But listen, make no mistake here. This isn't just some bad feeling. It is a lethal, systemic, biological threat. So in this explainer, we're looking at the clinical anatomy of a cure. We're going to decode the precise neuroscience behind contemplative practice.
So what happens when your brain forgets how to feel safe? Think of your nervous system as this elite, highly tuned security system. It's designed to detect a threat, sound the alarm, and mobilize your body so you survive. But what happens when that alarm just never shuts off? Chronic psychological trauma literally locks the human nervous system into a state of constant threat detection. The system breaks, you're trapped in survival mode, you can't sleep, you can't digest, and you definitely can't heal.
And the hard data absolutely proves it. Under chronic threat, this critical physiological metric we call heart rate variability, or HRV, just plummets. This drop in HRV is a massive red flag. It proves your autonomic nervous system is severely imbalanced, and it's basically losing its capacity to recover. Your body is preparing for a war that literally never ends. But here is the really suspenseful truth. Science has actually discovered a hidden backdoor right into the human brain, a physical mechanism to shut off the alarm.
Okay, let's dive into this. Chapter 1, A Mind Under Siege. When you're under siege, your body experiences prolonged sympathetic dominance. Fight or flight. Heart pounding, muscles tense, pupils dilated. It totally destroys your baseline fitness and floods your system with cortisol. Now, a healthy brain shifts smoothly from this state right into the parasympathetic state, rest, digest, and repair. But a traumatized brain, it loses the clutch. It simply cannot switch gears. It's trapped. That agonizing psychological tension you feel every day, that's your body screaming, unable to find its way back to baseline.
Chapter 2, The Vagus Nerve Blueprint.
So how exactly do we break this lock? Well, the clinical literature points to a really unexpected weapon: the breath. Specifically, respiratory vagal nerve stimulation. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how controlled, attentive exhalations and specific postures act as a literal neurological hack. You're mechanically stimulating the vagus nerve right there in your chest and abdomen, which is essentially the master control cable of your parasympathetic nervous system. You're manually overriding the brain's alarm system and forcing the body back into autonomic balance. This leads us to a highly calculated protocol known as safe mobilization. Active body, peaceful mind. Imagine holding a physically demanding posture. Your muscles burn, your heart's working hard, your sympathetic nervous system is highly active, right? But through slow, controlled exhalations, your mind is forced to remain perfectly calm. You're training your nervous system to stay physiologically mobilized for physical action without tipping over into panic. You're physically expanding your threshold for stress.
Chapter 3, Rewiring Brain Architecture.
The healing goes way deeper than just the breath. It literally rewrites the architecture of the brain. Within a single 60-minute practice, a biochemical flood occurs. Gamma-aminobutyric acid, or GABA, floods the thalamus. Now, GABA is your primary inhibitory transmitter. It literally powers down those raging electrical storms of anxiety in your limbic system. And at the exact same time, dopamine spikes in your reward centers. Serotonin levels rise. And those toxic stress hormones, cortisol and norepinephrine, they just plummet. And this brilliantly illustrates how cortical gray matter physically rebuilds itself. MRI scans reveal that regular practitioners actually develop thicker cortical gray matter. The prefrontal cortex, which is your center for executive control, physically expands. The hippocampus, which governs memory and is super easily damaged by cortisol, it grows. It's structural neuroplasticity in action, literally mitigating age-related brain shrinkage. It's wild.
Chapter 4, Healing Severe Trauma.
Beyond the cold neurobiology is a deeply agonizing human reality, living with severe PTSD, anxiety, and trauma. So can these physiological hacks actually heal deep psychological wounds? The clinical data says yes. For cluster A, those intrusive memories, practice strengthens the frontoparietal control network, allowing patients to inhibit painful flashbacks. For cluster B, avoidance, mindful movement provides us non-judgmental somatic exposure to bodily sensations, teaching the patient how to safely feel again. And for cluster E, hyperarousal, it restores parasympathetic dominance, basically turning off that constant startle response.
All of this creates a phenomenal effect known as limbic affective decoupling. Basically, emotional pain is separated from cognitive control.
If you put a traumatized patient in an fMRI scanner and show them a negative image, their amygdala lights up. But in experienced practitioners, something incredible happens. The amygdala still fires. They register the negative stimulus. But the distress, it doesn't derail their cognitive control. The emotional pain is completely decoupled from their mood. They feel it, sure, but it no longer destroys them.
Chapter 5, The Psychological Dark Side.
But look, every powerful medicine has a shadow. If you can physically alter brain chemistry and rewrite neural architecture, what happens when it goes wrong? The psychiatric literature is very clear on this. Intensive, unsupervised yogic practices can precipitate acute psychosis, mania, dissociation, and severe hyperarousal. When prefrontal networks are hyperactivated and limbic structures are profoundly altered too quickly, it can trigger meditation-induced psychosis. When used recklessly, these potent tools can actually break the mind instead of healing it.
Let's move to Chapter 6, the clinical prescription, and see how this builds into safe practice.
To avoid playing with fire, we rely on precise clinical prescriptions. Kripalu Yoga is highly effective for acute stress, cultivating a lot of self-compassion. Restorative Yoga holds poses for maximum relaxation, directly targeting somatic fatigue and burnout. Vinyasa and Hatha? They provide a dynamic flow, excellent for mild depression and building resilience. And trauma-informed yoga provides a highly specialized, safe space that's specifically engineered for severe PTSD recovery. And you can utilize these tools immediately. Specific postures act as natural self-healing mechanisms. Child's pose mechanically soothes racing thoughts. Legs up the wall shifts blood flow, offering profound stress relief and downregulating the nervous system. Tree pose really grounds highly scattered energy and sharpens your focus. And corpse pose, right at the end of practice, invites total mental stillness. Chronic stress wants to break you down cell by cell. But you possess a built-in override switch. Through the simple mechanics of your breath and focus movement, you literally have the power to flood your brain with GABA, to physically expand your gray matter, and to command your nervous system to stand down. It is an awe-inspiring biological reality. So, I leave you with this. If the breath can physically rebuild your brain, how will you choose to use it today?